Hi guys, and welcome to my wrap-up, review, impressions, whatever video for Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. Last episode went up on Sunday, and not too many views on it. Probably mostly because I said, if you're interested in playing this game, don't watch this episode, because massive spoilers. Likewise goes for this video, because I will be talking about the ending of the game. So if you don't want spoilers, you tend to play the game, stop watching this video right now. I'll give you a second. Okay, if you're still with me, then let's get right into it, shall we? Brothers was an amazing game. I think I said in my description and a number of other times on Twitter, etc., that it's probably, quite possibly, the most significant game I've ever played, simply because of the way that it uses the medium of gaming to tell a very emotional story. So, with that in mind, before I get into why I think it does that, and what I think about that actually more, this isn't really like an analysis video. I guess it's more of a impressions video. So, what didn't I like about the game? So, there was a lot to like about it. Really, what I didn't like was pretty minor, especially considering the game is pretty short. Most of my criticism has to do with just kind of getting stuck in a couple of places and not being able to figure out what to do. I'm not the best at puzzles in games, or things, or I guess there weren't really puzzles per se, but just finding those little hidden things, and I don't know. I guess I'm kind of dumb. I just can't quite grasp those sometimes, especially when you're Let's Playing. It's hard to. You're trying to think about what to say, and talking, and you can miss things pretty easily. So there's a little bit of Let's Play blindness in there, and you probably saw that during my videos if you watched them. So I would have liked a little bit of direction sometimes from the developers, maybe a little subtle cue or something. Besides the you hit the when you did the bit older brother's trigger, he would sometimes point in a direction and say, "Go that way," but that didn't necessarily think. I'm thinking of the saw in particular. I couldn't find the saw, and the way in which it did give you a hint, but I missed it. I didn't quite understand it necessarily. How to get past the tribe at the sacrifice. That I had a really hard time with that one. It took me like half an hour to figure that out. I actually looked it up, how to get through it. Really minor. I made it through the game. I still made it through the game. Excuse me, nose itch. I still made it through the game in about 3 hours, a little over 3 hours. So, I recorded the whole thing at once, so it worked out okay. But yeah, a little bit of direction would have been nice. That's about it. That's about all I can say. Brothers is a beautiful game. I really liked how each area felt different. Obviously the art style was similar, but I really liked how each area felt unique to the area and had its own things, like the living trees and that whole sequence in the darkness with the flame and the wolves was really cool. The giant area had that kind of washed out tone that looked really kind of cool, and the pale blood in the water and things like that. So I thought it looked really great, and I like how the gameplay mechanics changed for each area too. Like again, in the giant area, you had to figure out how to move giant corpses out of the way and things like that in order to progress, whereas the living tree sequence, you had to how to maneuver around the trees. That was an interesting mechanic as well. So I liked that. I liked how the gameplay changed depending on the scenario, and the control mechanic came into play. The control mechanic, the gimmick of the control mechanic of one stick or one side of the controller controlling one character and the other side controlling another was brilliant, especially in how it played out during the story. But it was brilliant. It made it really challenging because your brain isn't really wired up to make that distinction, and it was occasionally funny too, obviously, and frustrating. But that was part of the whole experience, was the frustration of sometimes wanting to move one character and accidentally moving the other. I kind of figured out a way around that, about trying to keep the big brother on the left and the little brother on the right, because that matched up with the controller then. So that worked out okay, but occasionally you had to do otherwise, and it got a little confusing, which I actually kind of liked. I liked feeling kind of uncomfortable in a control scheme in a game, as opposed to most games where you're just controlling one character and you master that character. There was no mastery of the control mechanic in that game. Even at the end, near the end, I started to, I would still get confused as to where to go and things like that. So that was interesting. And as far as how the control mechanic really drove the story, I thought was great. You didn't have the dialogue, because it wasn't dialogue, or at least understandable dialogue, to get you wrapped up into the story. The story was really that you were following these two brothers along on this adventure, on this journey, and you were guiding them through it with the controller. So you felt really attached to them. Like I said in my videos, I felt really bad when they died. I feel like it really let them down. Whereas opposed to other games where it's just like, oh, I died, I'll just restart that part. It really feels like it felt to me anyway, like you really let them down. They were trying to save their dad. You felt an affinity toward them. You really felt, probably because there was two characters. You were controlling two characters instead of just one. I guess when the stakes are that, oops, I died, I'll just restart. If you just killed one of the brothers, it was sort of like, well, now the other one's left on its own, and you felt kind of bad about that. So I thought it was really interesting how I felt about dying in the game was really changed by the control mechanic. So you progress to the story and you get to the end, right? And the control mechanic really was there to punctuate that feeling of loss that you have when the older brother is at first just you think that you're gonna save him, but you can't control him because the younger brother has to run up the tree and get the elixir, and maybe not everybody did, but I thought that we were going to save him. That's just how I felt. It was just obviously we were going to save him. We would go up and get the elixir, come down, give him some of the elixir, maybe pour it on his wound or something like that, a la Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, right? That's totally what I thought was going to happen. Obviously it didn't, and he's just dead, and presumably he ran back up the tree to get more elixir, because I think he spilled it all out at one point, and he obviously still had some at the end. But, so he dies, and then so this control mechanic that for 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours or so, has been ingrained in your brain, all of a sudden, a half of the controller is taken away from you. So it really is that feeling of loss. You really feel that loss, because now you're only using one hand to play the game. Even if you're holding a controller with two controllers, you're still only using one hand to play the game. Brilliant. Brilliant. And as far as a storytelling device goes, to make you feel that affinity toward the character, really worked. And I just lost it. when he found out that he died, Yeah, I just lost it. Obviously, during the thing, you really felt that. So you're controlling him by one. You have to bury him. It felt very final when you buried him, even though he said goodbye virtually, right, or spiritually said goodbye to his brother. Then after that, you fly back, and you have to figure out how to swim. So then, at that point, you're kind of used to only using one controller again, or one stick again. And then, I don't think you could tell in the video, you could hear it very much when I finally figured out that you use the left trigger, or the left stick, it didn't matter which one you used, I don't think, to channel the older brother's strength or whatever. But the controller did vibrate, and I felt that immediately, and it was just, that's what I did. And I just sat there like that for like 30 seconds. It just, like, hit me like a spear. It was really, really weighty, really emotional. Tears coming down my face, I had to take a minute to recompose myself. And even after that, just like tears coming down my face, and they were like, I had been sweating because it was so stressful, the game, and I was getting sweat in my eyes, and it was stinging, and it's just this very visceral experience of playing this game at the end. And then at the end, the younger brother is standing there with his sorrow, just kind of feeling, you can see it in his face, but he already cried his tears for his older brother, and his dad breaks down. Really powerful. And I think one of the things that made this game so powerful for me is because I've lost a lot of people in my life. I have a very small family. When someone dies, you feel it immensely. I mean, you always feel when somebody that you love dies immensely, but my family is very small, and I see there's only a couple of people in my family left now. So I'm well acquainted with grief, and I think that this game really touched on that in particular. And I think that if you hadn't had a loss, like losing a pet or a family member or a friend or something like that before, that maybe you wouldn't have gotten the same thing out of the game that I did, or that others did. Yeah, I mean, what else is there to say at the end of that game? I really needed to take some time, think about it a bit, and then record this for you. Now, it's been about a month since I played the game all in one sitting, and so I just wanted to share with you guys my kind of feelings about it. Oh, another thing that the game, I thought the game used fear really well too. It had darkness in it, it had heights in it, and it had that grief and that fear of loss. And so I thought that it really played on those senses of fear really well, even if you're not scared of, say, heights or darkness or something like that. Some people are. So kind of had a well-rounded set of things that you could be afraid of in the game. So anyway, those are my impressions of the game. I hope you enjoyed watching my videos if you watched them, or I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble on about the game if you didn't. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you in another video. Take it easy.